The model was created to increase accountability and build a greater connection between policing and local communities by having a single public official directly elected by the public responsible for holding their chief constable to account, setting the local police budget and agreeing strategic priorities for their force through their local police and crime plan. However, whilst the role of PCCs has evolved over time to include responsibility for commissioning services for victims, driving local partnerships and in some areas responsibilities for fire governance, the model has failed to live up to expectations. It has not delivered what it was set up to achieve. The reality is that the PCC model has weakened local police accountability and has had perverse impacts on the recruitment of chief constables. They have failed to inspire confidence in local people, in stark contrast to the mayoral model, which has clearly been ultimately more successful. We will no longer run separate policing elections, and we will also abolish police and crime panels, the current structure that performs scrutiny panels for PCCs. We estimate that at least £100 million will be saved this Parliament by moving to these new arrangements. Once delivered, the changes are expected to achieve savings to the Home Office of around £20 million a year, enough to fund around 320 extra police constables. Further detail will be set out in the forthcoming White Paper, and we will bring forward the necessary legislation as part of our broader police reform proposals as soon as parliamentary time allows. There are no plans to create mayors in Wales. We wish to harmonise arrangements across England and Wales as far as possible and will therefore work with the Welsh Government to ensure new arrangements to replace PCCs provide strong and effective police governance for Wales, recognising the unique nature of Welsh arrangements. I also want to clarify that these reforms will not affect governance arrangements for the City of London Police, which is governed by the City Corporation.
The Minister mentioned at the beginning the government's plans to bring forward a police reform white paper, announced from memory about a year ago. But there hasn't been a single sniff of that white paper since then. Perhaps you can tell us when we can expect it and why the government is so bereft of ideas. It has taken a year or more to publish that white paper. Now, Mr. Speaker, today's statement about police and crime commissioners represents, in my view, a tinkering around the edges from a government which is failing on crime and policing. If you like, it is simply rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Because this government is failing, police numbers are falling. They fell by 1,300 during Labour's first year in office on a like-for-like March-to-March comparison. And not only are police numbers falling, they are continuing to fall and will drop even more this year. Now, they say that they want to transfer PCC powers to mayors where they exist and where the territories are coterminous. And broadly speaking, that is the approach the previous government took. In fact, I recall transferring, I think it was one of the Yorkshire forces into the mayoral model around about a year or so ago. She does, however, assert that the mayoral model is superior to regular police and crime commissioners. I wonder what evidence she can produce to support that, because the biggest police and crime commissioner in the country, of course, is the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who is also the worst PCC in the country, in my view. Knife crime up 86% under Sadiq Khan, the lowest clear-up rate of any force in the country, a lamentable 4.7%. He has closed down half the front counters in London, and police numbers are plummeting. So I wonder where she gets her assertion from.
So I suggest he talks to the mayors and the deputy mayors responsible for police and crime, the ability of a structure with a mayoral system and all of the public services underneath it to work together more collaboratively and more effectively is clear to see. So I would encourage him to talk to those mayors and deputy mayors to have a look for himself. Saving £100 million, I think, is quite substantial and not tinkering round the edges as he suggests. But what I would say to him is if he could wait a few more weeks, he will see the reform agenda that the Home Secretary is designing in its totality, and it will put policing on a much better footing than he left it.